Have you ever noticed how the Japanese have an almost silent relationship with wealth? They don't show it off, they don't flaunt it, and they don't turn money into a symbol of status. And yet they seem to live in peace, with stability, serenity, and a sense of fulfillment that many people, even those with greater possessions, can't seem to reach. In Japan, luxury isn't found in what's displayed, but in what's felt. It's a kind of wealth that doesn't shout, that doesn't need to prove anything to anyone. It's what many call being an invisible millionaire, someone who lives well, has enough, and doesn't need the world to know it. But what lies behind this way of living? How can someone be rich without accumulating possessions, without constantly chasing more? That question carries a deep secret from Japanese minimalist philosophy, because for them, true prosperity isn't measured in objects, but in balance. They've discovered that real wealth doesn't come from what you buy, but from what you understand, from what you simplify, from what you let go of. And perhaps that's why, even without displaying it, many live as true invisible millionaires, people who possess what money can't buy: peace, purpose, and time. When you look at the Japanese lifestyle, you realize that the concept of wealth has been redefined. It's not about conquering the world, but about conquering yourself. And what's fascinating is that the simpler they live, the more abundance seems to flow naturally, as if the universe responds to lightness with more balance, more clarity, more gratitude. Today, we're going to understand how Japanese minimalists create wealth without accumulating things, and why this way of living can transform not only how you see money, but the very meaning of prosperity itself. While the West measures wealth by the size of a house or the shine of possessions, Japan has learned to measure it by inner harmony. There, what truly matters isn't what's displayed, but what's felt when everything is in balance. True prosperity isn't found in things, but in the way one lives. This perspective comes from an ancient heritage, centuries of discipline, simplicity, and reverence for what is essential. The Japanese understand that abundance grows from order, not excess. A clean home, an organized routine, and a clear sense of purpose are worth far more than any form of showiness. Money to them is only a tool, never a symbol of personal worth. It's used with wisdom, not vanity. That's why their spending choices are more mindful, less impulsive, and far more meaningful. When we look at the concept of wealth through the Japanese lens, we see that it's deeply connected to ikigai, the reason to wake up every morning. Wealth, in that sense, isn't about how much you own, but how much meaning fills your life. Ikigai is the invisible axis that sustains Japanese serenity. They work, consume, and rest according to what truly matters. That clarity shields them from the emptiness that comes from endlessly chasing more. Another principle that shapes this perception is shibumi, the beauty of understated simplicity. Shibumi lives in restrained gestures, functional objects, and calm speech. It's a quiet form of wealth that doesn't seek applause. Those who live with shibumi don't aim to stand out, they aim to live with integrity. It's the opposite of extravagance, an elegance born from moderation. There's also wabi-sabi, the idea that imperfection is part of life and beauty. This transforms how value is perceived. An object isn't discarded because it's worn. It's honored because it has endured time. This philosophy teaches gratitude, patience, and contentment, three virtues that in Japan are considered forms of spiritual wealth. When these values come together, we understand that the Japanese see money as only one part of prosperity, not its center. They strive to live lightly, needing only the essential. That mindset creates a freedom few people ever experience, the freedom of not needing to prove anything to anyone. They don't buy to impress. They buy to serve a purpose. They don't accumulate out of fear of lack. They trust in the harmony of what they already have. This way of thinking protects them from the modern trap of wanting everything yet never feeling fulfilled. While many chase new possessions, the Japanese devote themselves to caring for what they already own. They know that the energy spent maintaining the unnecessary is what steals peace and time. That's why they choose less. And by doing so, they gain more. Japanese wealth lies in balance, usefulness, and serenity. It's quiet, invisible, and profound. It's the kind of wealth that can't be stolen, because it lives within the mind and heart. And perhaps that's why, even with fewer things, they seem to have more life. Japanese wisdom teaches that being rich isn't about having much, but about needing little. When you learn to value simplicity, you realize that nothing essential is missing. The excess becomes unnecessary, and what remains is space. Space to breathe, to think, to live with intention. That space is what the Japanese minimalist calls true luxury, the luxury of inner peace. Japanese minimalists build wealth in a way that challenges modern logic. While the rest of the world believes that to prosper is to accumulate, they understand that to prosper is to organize. For them, wealth is the result of mental, emotional, and practical clarity. It's the natural outcome of a purposeful life, one where every choice has intention and nothing is left to chance. In Japan, the act of taking care of things is a form of respect. Taking good care of what you have is the first step toward attracting what you desire. That mindset changes everything. Before buying something new, a Japanese person asks, "Does this have real use? Will this add to my peace or steal my time?" If the answer isn't clear, they simply don't buy it. This daily practice creates a powerful, quiet kind of financial discipline. They know that wealth isn't just about money, it's about control over it. When you're not a slave to consumption, money stops being a burden and becomes an ally. The Japanese don't spend to escape boredom or buy to fill emotional voids. They consume strategically, consciously, almost meditatively. And because of that, what they own, though modest, lasts longer, yields more, and brings deeper satisfaction. Another secret lies in how they treat time. For them, time is the most valuable asset there is. They treat it like gold, and by doing so, they naturally create prosperity. Instead of wasting hours on distractions or meaningless work, they invest time in things that generate value, not just financial value, but human value. This is ikigai in action, doing what you love, doing it well, and letting the rewards unfold naturally, without hurry. The Japanese also understand that spending less doesn't mean living with less joy. It means living with more awareness. They don't need 10 options to feel complete. One genuine choice is enough. This clarity protects them from waste and brings them closer to a balanced life. And it's within that balance that wealth flourishes. Because where there is order, there is flow. Japanese minimalist philosophy also values continuity. They don't seek instant results. They build wealth the way one tends a garden, a little each day, with patience and care. Small daily habits like saving a bit, avoiding waste, planning for the future, and expressing gratitude for the present create lasting financial stability. This is the foundation of Kaizen, the principle of continuous improvement. In Japan, it applies not only to work, but to personal life as well. Instead of drastic changes, the Japanese prefer steady, step-by-step refinement. Progress becomes a natural part of everyday living. And when you move at that pace, without rush and without waste, accumulation stops being necessary, because life itself becomes abundant. The Japanese minimalist also invests in something the modern world often forgets: emotional well-being. They understand that a calm mind is the greatest asset anyone can have. A peaceful person makes better decisions, works with more focus, and wastes less energy on meaningless things. That's why, instead of accumulating possessions, they accumulate serenity, a form of wealth that doesn't depend on the economy or the market. There's also a quiet wisdom in how they view aging. Unlike other cultures that associate age with loss, the Japanese see it as maturity and fulfillment. This perspective allows them to live more steadily, less driven by impulse, more guided by purpose. And that sense of purpose is what keeps prosperity flowing, even in difficult times. Japanese prosperity is built in silence, cultivated with patience, and sustained by conscious choices. It's not a stroke of luck, it's the natural result of living with meaning. And perhaps that's why, without showing off, many achieve a tranquility that even the world's wealthiest are still searching for. The true wealth of Japanese minimalists is invisible to the eye. It doesn't lie in numbers, clothing, or brands. It lives in the tranquility of knowing that nothing is missing. It's found in the feeling of sufficiency, something rare in the modern world. While many feel poor amid abundance, they feel complete amid simplicity. This is the purest form of abundance, not needing anything more to feel rich. When you live with less, you discover a different kind of freedom, a freedom that doesn't depend on a pay raise or external achievements. It's the freedom of being the master of yourself. The Japanese call this shibumi, quiet elegance, beauty that doesn't need to show itself. That beauty lives in an orderly space, in a calm gaze, in a gentle gesture. It's a kind of wealth that doesn't shout, it whispers. And because of that, it lasts longer. A Japanese minimalist understands that to be truly rich, one must cultivate what money can't buy: a steady mind and a content heart. They know happiness isn't found in something new, but in how one looks at what already exists. For them, luxury is having time to care for the home, to enjoy tea slowly, to watch the rain without hurry. Things the modern world calls simple, yet in the Japanese view, they are the essence of wealth. This philosophy also transforms how they relate to work. In Japan, work isn't merely a way to earn money, it's an expression of gratitude for life. Work is an extension of the soul, and when done with care, it turns the everyday into art. They don't need extravagance because they find value in what they do, and that's something no currency can buy. The Japanese also believe that money should flow, not be trapped. Saving out of fear is the opposite of prospering. That's why they seek balance between saving and enjoying. They know how to invest, but they also know how to give thanks. They know how to plan, but they also know how to let go. And it's precisely this balance that creates a sense of flow. The energy of money moves in and out freely, without guilt, because it's being used with purpose. Another defining feature of Japan's invisible wealth is harmony with the environment. They don't consume nature, they coexist with it. Beauty lies in the imperfection of natural things, in aged wood, in an object that carries history. This way of seeing imperfection, known as wabi-sabi, is one of the keys to understanding Japan's spiritual wealth. While the world chases the shine of the new, the Japanese cherish the serenity of what has endured. To live this way is to understand that true wealth isn't made of numbers, but of moments. It's being able to take a deep breath and feel peace. It's looking at what you have and saying, this is enough. That simplicity is what makes them invisible millionaires. People who don't need to show anything, because they've already found everything. The Japanese minimalist also practices something few notice: silent gratitude. Every time they store an item, clean a space, or organize a drawer, they give thanks. This act, repeated day after day, creates an energy of contentment. And where there is gratitude, there is prosperity, because those who are grateful attract more reasons to be thankful. It's fascinating to see how this philosophy contrasts with the rush of the Western world. While many believe that wealth means running, competing, and accumulating, the Japanese understand that wealth means breathing, caring, and simplifying. They walk slowly, but with purpose. And precisely because they walk slowly, they never lose their way. Invisible wealth is the kind that can't be shown, only felt. It's in the quiet home, the calm heart, the face of someone who sleeps in peace. It's the kind of abundance that grows from within, and when it blossoms, it transforms the way you live, consume, and see the true value of things. Bringing Japanese minimalist philosophy into modern life is simpler than it seems, but it requires courage. Courage to say no to excess. Courage to disconnect from the noise. Courage to look around and realize that the essential is already present. It's not about abandoning everything, but about adjusting your focus. And that first step is precisely this: seeing what truly holds value. Start with your home. The environment you live in is a reflection of your mind. When the space is cluttered, the mind is too. In Japan, cleaning and organizing are not household chores, they're forms of meditation. Every object placed in its proper spot is an act of respect. By simplifying your surroundings, you simplify your thoughts. And when the mind becomes calm, the path to prosperity becomes clearer. The second step is to observe your consumption habits. Before buying anything, take a pause. Ask yourself, will this improve my life, or will it just take up space? That simple reflection completely changes your relationship with money. When you begin to consume mindfully, money stops slipping through your fingers and starts working in your favor. And over time, you realize that spending less is actually gaining more. Another essential point is time. The Japanese treat time with the same reverence they give to money. They consider it a sacred resource, because once it's spent, it never returns. That's why, instead of trying to do everything, they focus on doing well what truly matters. This mindset may seem simple, but it transforms productivity and well-being entirely, removing the unnecessary open space for what truly brings results. And this is where the concept of ikigai comes in, the purpose that gives life meaning. Living minimally isn't about having less out of obligation. It's about living with purpose by choice. When you discover your ikigai, work stops feeling like a burden and becomes an extension of who you are. You wake up with clarity, you know where you're going, and money stops being the center of your decisions. It becomes a natural consequence of what you do with love. Applying Japanese minimalism also means learning to respect the natural rhythm of things. In a society obsessed with speed, slowing down is an act of wisdom. The Japanese know that rushing steals life's depth. That's why they value silence, pauses, and stillness. In silence, one hears what is true. It's within that quiet space that the best ideas emerge, the wisest decisions are made, and the kind of peace that money can't buy is found. Another practical way to bring this philosophy into your daily life is to change the way you measure success. Instead of counting what you own, start noticing what you feel. If there is peace, if there is balance, if there is time to breathe, you're already richer than you think. This shift in perspective creates a new kind of ambition, one that's calmer, focused not on accumulation, but on quality. And finally, learn to give thanks. Gratitude is the invisible thread that holds all prosperity together. In Japan, expressing gratitude is a constant practice. People give thanks before meals, at the end of the day, when receiving something, or even when saying goodbye. This habit creates an energy of contentment. And when you're content with what you have, the universe understands that you're ready to receive more, not out of need, but out of worthiness. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the channel. That way, you won't miss any new content, and you'll help me keep bringing you more reflections and insights. See you in the next video.